storm is brewing over paradise. The good folk of Norfolk Island are up in arms about Australia's decision to sack their parliament. Black, no milk?
Exactly, yes.
Thank you very much.
So far, it's a genteel revolution, serving tea and cake to visiting Australians. And they say they're not moving until Australia backs down. Or they have to drag you out of here.
I reckon. I'm pretty heavy.
We have a culture that is unique to Norfolk Island. We have an ethnicity that is unique to Norfolk Island. And in amongst it, we are absolutely geographically separate.
Like half the island's population, Andre Nobbs is a direct descendant of Fletcher Christian and the men of the Bounty who rebelled against Captain Bligh in 1789. Mutiny is in the blood.
Why on earth is the Australian government being such an antagonistic, arrogant and almost communist regime to stamp out a people just so that they can take control of an island?
Can this be my Australia they're talking about? I visit Government House, home for 2 centuries to the island's colonial overlords, now to meet the latest so-called oppressor. Do I call you Your Honour?
Gary will be fine. Welcome to Government House. Good to see you.
The man Australia has appointed to take over Norfolk Island is Administrator Gary Hardgrave.
And it really belongs to us, the people of Australia.
Belongs to the people of Australia. It's the oldest working government house in our country.
A former radio shock jock and Liberal MP, Hardgrave is appropriately tough and blunt.
In the case of Norfolk Island, it was a concoction of the Australian Parliament to create an experimental parliament here, a parliament of 9, and the experiment failed. The place is broken, we're repairing it.
This is taking control of a place that people strongly identify with and have over hundreds of years. It's taking it from them.
Absolutely, and we are so proud of the fact that, in effect, Norfolk has evolved in isolation from Australia. This is economic catastrophe for Norfolk Island. We don't want to be a bloody welfare state. We want to be a productive community.
For the past 35 years, the islanders governed themselves. While Australia profited from the lucrative fishing rights, tourism remained Norfolk's only source of income for its public works and services. Since the GFC, they've been on hard times, and instead of allowing Norfolk to borrow money like any Australian state government, Canberra decided to take the place over.
There was plenty of warning, lots of talk, and now there's action.
You know, they have their way of doing things around here. You know, the island is run literally on common sense.
Lisa Richards hails from Sydney. She's married into one of the island's founding families. Husband Wayne is a 7th-generation descendant of the Bounty mutineers. And their son, 7-year-old Jack, is carrying the mutinous family heritage into its 3rd century.
When you tell your story to Australians, do you think they'll be on your side too?
I hope that they will be. I hope that they will understand that this is actually about a true loss of democracy. Australia removing a freely elected government against the will of the people and putting in place its own system, which is a foolhardy system.
Well, this is what democracy looks like when you close it down. This was the 9-member Legislative Assembly of Norfolk Island. Until the Australian government moved in, they removed the furniture, the table, the seats, the Speaker's chair. They removed everything, including the pictures on the wall, even the portrait of the Queen. And most importantly, they removed the records of the deliberation of this chamber, the Hansard. You would think in the manual of how to take over a democracy and subdue it, this would be the course of action that would destroy the people's spirit. But not yet.
The islanders say they've never had a vote on whether they want to be part of Australia.
But we could hold a referendum under the Australian Electoral Office so we'd know that it was fair dinkum. And if they wanted it, why wouldn't we give it to them?
The reality is...
What's the harm?
Well, the reality is we run the risk of having a failed state within our midst. That is how badly off this place was, and the Australian government, the Australian Parliament has acted. Today, we stand with other strong democracies.
In the office of Administrator Hardgrave, the Australianisation of Norfolk Island continues.
Welcome to Australia. Well done.
Thank you.
To qualify for the benefits of being part of Australia, they now have to become Australian, not Norfolk Islanders. In return, Australia will ship in a generous consignment of social welfare, family benefits, Medicare, and even the dole. But the islanders stubbornly prize their independence. Most hold down 2 or more jobs, this dangerous-looking stevedoring being one of them. I don't think any of this would pass the occupational health and safety regulations that the Commonwealth of Australia will now inflict on you.
It might not. And look, at the end of the day, it's all about the fact that we've run it this way for decades.
Any islander who swears allegiance to Australia will also get to vote in the federal election. But because Norfolk Island is now part of the Australian Capital Territory, their Member of Parliament must come from Canberra, 1,800 kilometres away.
If a government's not doing anything wrong, why are they worried about criticism? It wouldn't matter then.
In the new regime, dissenting voices are discouraged. Bob Turner and Simon Brown ran a show on Radio Norfolk until they criticised Australia's takeover and its welfare culture. Then they were sacked, so was the station manager.
You're taking a whole country of people that want to work and forcing them literally to go on a welfare of some description, be it family benefit, be it on the dole. That's the thing, why it doesn't make any sense.
Did you close down the radio station effectively? Did you take it over?
As I understand it,
This issue isn't allowed to be ventilated on the radio station. People have got the sack for talking about it.
My understanding is the radio station has rules. Rules are being followed now, and I think people are a lot more calm and relaxed than they once were when there was sort of this wild east kind of approach to saying anything you like and no one taking responsibility for it.
If there's an operating manual for invasion and regime change, high on its priority must be taking over the media. In this case, taking over the local radio station. Then what you do is you start to broadcast your own propaganda. That's to say, you start to win the hearts and the minds of the people. Just listen to this.
Lodge a paper claim with our staff for a payment, family tax benefit, or request a child support assessment. Remember, you can lodge an early paper claim with us from 9 May 2016. That was a paid message from the Australian Government Department of Human Services.
Isn't that wonderful? They're actually running a commercial for good old Aussie welfare. Life on the dole. But Gary, why couldn't we have what you want and what they want as well? Why can't they have their own government and the social welfare system run from Canberra as it is in Tasmania or Queensland or anywhere else?
Well, that was tried for 36 years, and by good luck, more than good management, they got that far. And then after a lot of review and a lot of inquiry and a lot of close work, there was a decision taken. The experiment failed. We now have a responsibility, because we created the mess, to fix it up.
These are a distinctive people with a 230-year-old culture, their own language, and their own time-honoured way of doing things.
This is fantastic. And you gathered this?
I did today.
It is brilliant.
It is.
And wonderfully, their own food.
And what's it called?
Sea gems,
Sea gems.
dead man's fingers,
Dead man's fingers.
ocean caviar.
What's its scientific name?
It's a callurpa.
Callurpa.
Yeah.
The next morning at low tide, I joined Carleen to learn what her Polynesian forebears first taught the Bounty mutineers.
Go.
How to live from the sea. Well, you'd never starve here, would you?
No, never. We've got the ocean for fishing. We have the seaweed, which is beautiful.
With Norfolk Island history etched into her face and written on her skin, Carleen looks across the water and, like so many of her people, must wonder if ordinary Australians really support the takeover of this faraway place about which we, apparently, know so very little.
Would you say that they just have to accept it now and their quaint little, perhaps tin pot parliament is just now going into history?
It's part of its history, but it's not part of its future.
Can you win this, though?
I think we can. And winning doesn't mean that we have to decimate someone.
Yeah.
Winning means that we save our people. It means that we save our community. It means that we save this island.
Hello, I'm Charles Wooley. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.